Hello everybody, Zeno coming here yet again for another Manga Madness Wednesday. That's what we're going to basically go with for this show's name until maybe we decide to change it later on. I'm not 100% sure, whatever, but this is the second episode. The first episode was last week's chapters of Naruto and Bleach, and if you haven't watched it, please go ahead and click somewhere on this screen to go back and watch. And if you haven't caught on by now with these, manga reactions, these are pretty spoiler heavy if you do not read the manga or you have yet to read this week's chapter. This week is for the 24th, I think today is? 23rd. Today's the 23rd, okay. Overall, let's jump right into it. Overall, I'm extremely I was extremely delighted by this week's set of chapters for One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto. Usually, when I read the mangas for every week, it usually goes. I find One Piece to be the best, followed by Naruto, then Bleach. This week, I'm actually kind of confused on which one took the cake. This particular week of chapters. Naruto was pretty up there. It was very nostalgic. It was very. It was well paced in my opinion, or at least better paced than usual. We'll get to that later on though. And I was pleasantly, like usual, pleased with One Piece. One Piece was slightly a little slower than usual this week, and not as big on the action. There was only like a few good little shot scenes in there. And Bleach, I think it started off pretty well, and then it ended with kind of like, Sorry about that. So to get started, we can go ahead and jump into with Bleach, since Bleach is on the bottom, okay, whatever. So basically, it opens up with Grimmy and Kenpachi as usual, it's continuing on from where the manga left off in the previous chapter. This week's chapter is 578, by the way. So here's the thing. As I need to go ahead and upload the top 5 dislikes of Bleach. One thing that I have a problem with Bleach is inconsistencies. So in this chapter, Grimy, whatever the kid with the wild imagination name is, opens up a tear, and it's like the void of space, so Kenpachi can't breathe. And this was his way of killing Kenpachi, or trying to kill Kenpachi, was to suffocate him and basically have the voids of space compress his organs and kill him, as if he was a normal human living being. But he's a Shinigami, so my thought was always that Shinigamis didn't follow the same rules of existence as normal living people. But apparently, he does. Now, it would have been better if they said that Grimmy imagined that the void of space affects Kenpachi, etc. And to that extent, couldn't Grimmy just, imagine himself winning, or imagine Kenpachi just being dead and then poof? That's one thing. I know it's a manga. You gotta have the writing down. You gotta have the action. You gotta have the drama. You gotta have the climax and the story and all that, all that jazz. But it seems to me, if you're going to give a kid, this much power, and you don't even hint toward the possibilities or the extent, maybe he, because he felt so rushed by adrenaline that he wants to beat Kenpachi, that could have been the reason why he just didn't imagine him dead. But seeing how the battle ends, and this is a major spoiler if someone had, if you haven't read the chapter this week, is the kid loses his mind, says, this is the first time I ever wanted to beat someone, this is the first time I ever wanted to show my might, I wanted to be the dominant person, etc. So this would be the perfect time to just say, I imagine you dead, I imagine you never existed, I imagine you to no longer exist at this moment. That would have been the, yeah. But instead, he says, I have to match your strength, Kenpachi. So he imagines himself to be as strong as Kenpachi, but the problem is, or the problem for him rather, was that he imagines Kenpachi to be this unimaginable monster. So he ends up killing himself by accident. I'm serious. Don't get me wrong. I actually think this is a very creative way to end something, like in a battle like this, or to beat someone with this caliber of power. But you do not let Kenpachi show up, go Bankai, only to have the enemy kill himself. Not with Kenpachi. You know, that probably would have been something for, you know, Byakuya or Renji or something. You know, not Kenpachi. No. But I digress. I digress. Well, actually, no, I don't. The final comment that Kenpachi makes in the last page of the chapter pretty much sums up the kid nicely. So let's go ahead and jump towards One Piece. Now, usually I would say One Piece for last, but given that the caliber of Naruto and One Piece for this week, I actually want to do Naruto last. So for One Piece, this was the chapter labeled 745. Yeah, so we found out Doflamingo really wasn't killed. We pretty much knew because there was no blood when Kairos chopped off his head. And I do believe he talked, his head talked like in 2 weeks ago in that chapter. Now see, my theory was that Doflamingo is a string man, so therefore, you know, cutting his head off wouldn't kill him because, you know, like threads can re-thread themselves to come back together or something like that. But actually, I was mistaken, and I'm glad I was mistaken. I'm so glad they went with a better route with this. Doflamingo created a puppet. You know, he was using like a, what do they call him, a marionette, and he actually formed all these strings to make a clone, kind of like Naruto. You know, all these various types of clones: shadow clone, leaf clone, wood clone, lightning clone, clay clone, you know, whatever. But so Doflamingo then jumps out of the shadows and, you know, shadow clone. And he attempts to behead Kairos, you know, soldier, and he's back to being human now. And Luffy saves him, and, you know, they get ready to fight, and Luffy does gear second jet Gatling gun. It's ineffective against Doflamingo. Doflamingo's either his real self, either his real self or the puppet gets behind him, cuts Luffy on the back, and then the other Doflamingo uses armament hardening, and punches Luffy in the face. And look, I love Luffy. I love the battles. Ever since the time skip, Luffy really hasn't been that much, you know, met with a villain who's on the same level of strength as him. I mean, people say, you know, Hody Jones. No, Hody Jones just had the advantage because they was in the water. If they were on land, Luffy would have marked the floor with him in an instant. So now that you have Luffy out of water, on land, fighting against someone who is who, surprising to me, is even this powerful. I know he's devious. I know he has a very dangerous devil fruit ability. But it made me kind of smile to see Doflamingo being able just to pop Luffy in the face and see him a good distance away. And that just makes me glad that it's, you know, even though the One Piece, the Straw Hats are getting exponentially stronger with each iterations of their arc, I'm glad they're not pulling back the punches on their villains either. I also want to state that in the beginning of this chapter, you have I don't know how to say. I don't know if it's Koala or Koala or just Kala. No, I don't know. Feel free to do a pronunciation thing in the comments below. But you had her and Sabo there, and Hack with Nico Robin, and I was trying to find out, like, why does Nico know Sabo? I remember, oh yeah, during the time skip, she was actually traveling aboard on Dragon's ship. So she knows all, you know, the Dragon, what is the Dragon's crew name? I don't know if they're just called the Revolutionists or the Revolutionary Crew or the Revolutionary Army. Do they have a set name? I gotta go look that up later. I'm now more interested in the, towards the end of the chapter, where Doflamingo initiates the Birdcage plan or protocol or whatever you want to call it, where he basically creates this giant string cage around his entire country. Here comes my dog. Don't you dare mess up my camera. Don't you dare mess up my camera. Why are you going underneath the tripod? You have the entire area to... He creates this giant cage across his country, or at least the surrounding area. It might be the entire country. I gotta check how big the scale was again. And he basically is forcing everyone to kill a certain amount of people on his list, or if anyone can kill him, and you know, they'll win this "do you want to play a game" reference type thing. And he says he's gonna give out names of who he wants killed, and if those people are killed, he'll let everyone go. And I'm curious as to who are the, what list or whose name are gonna be on that list is going to give out in the next chapter. Finally, we get down to what I may feel was the most enjoyable chapter this week, and that was Naruto chapter 674. I thoroughly enjoyed it, mainly because of the nostalgia that I had seeing Naruto and Sasuke work together and actually do some very nice combination not techniques, but rather plans and strategizing and whatnot. But I have to say, how many freaking times are people gonna have their Sharingan eyes stolen? I mean, at this point, I'm surprised no one has contracted like a staph infection in their eye socket. I mean, goodness gracious. Kakashi just chilling on a rock, just catching his breath, and then, oh, what's this? Oh no! It was funny, and I laughed my butt off. But he had a run by robbery. Like he tapped him on the shoulder, just bloop bloop, bye bye. No, I'm sorry. What's also funny is it was a literal snatch and plop. I mean, I didn't. Maybe Hiroshima Sales, makes the optical nerves attach seamlessly. I don't know. I don't really care. It is hilarious. I laughed my butt off. I can't. Even right now, I can't stop giggling about it. But I digress yet again. It was wonderful seeing Naruto use more of the other tail beast powers to incorporate with his own. I am tired of the Rasengan though. I am freaking. I understand, it's probably one of the most ultimate moves possible, and it is his thing. But I don't know. I guess I should at least be happy that he's incorporating other forms of power with his Rasengan. So this chapter was, last chapter he used Goku's, or Son Goku's, the 5th tail beast, I do believe. I never did check it out or look it up. The gorilla base beast. He used his power to do a fire molten lava style Rasen Shuriken technique. And this week he used Shikaku's, that's the first tail beast, sand power to create some type of magnet release Rasengan. And it was basically like this giant ball of sand with Shikaku's, I guess you'll call them tattoo designs, or the little markings around them. And Sasuke used Chidori, ooh, big surprise, infused with the Sage Chakra to attack Madara, or Madara, however you want to pronounce it. That was pretty cool. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Madara do Limbo and creating, 2 separate entities of himself, and Naruto could see one, or Naruto could focus on one, and Sasuke could focus on the other, and that was a very nice thing to see for me personally. One thing I still don't understand, and I hope someone out there can probably answer this question, or at least provide some theories as to why, but why does Sasuke only have one Rinnegan? I figured if he got the Sage's power, both eyes would unlock Rinnegan. Naruto has Senjutsu and Sasuke has the Rinnegan because he has the ocular powers, and Naruto has the physical body powers. Yet Sasuke only has one eye. I mean, he got, well, I don't want to say it's the short end of the stick, but it's still a big stick. Travel softly and carry a big stick. It's still a great power to have, but you have Naruto who has the Senjutsu, the Tail Beast, Sage Mode, and then you have Sasuke with one Sharingan and one Rinnegan, and some Sage Jutsu powers, or the Sage's chakra rather. I'm like, my final wish, because I think the chapter ended pretty cool. Not like a why'd you leave us hanging, because we all saw this coming. Madara took Kakashi's Sharingan and put it in his little right eye socket so he could use the space-time jutsu to travel into the other dimension that both Kakashi and Obito can use to basically get his right Rinnegan eye back. So, if that's the case, I'm hoping next week's chapter isn't 17 pages of Madara versus Obito, because we know Madara is gonna get his right eye back regardless. I hope they don't stretch out, you was nothing but a tool for my will and my desire. Give me my eye back. No, I won't give you your eye back. I shall battle and redeem myself because I want to be Hokage and I believe in Naruto and yada yada yada. Let me fight you and probably end up dying. And then you have, guess who? Sakura, who probably is going to be as useless as a pile of buckets as she always is. I'm hoping that they can do at least 1 or 2 pages next chapter. Doing the whole Madara Obito talking bit, maybe a small little short fight, but he has to get his eye back in that chapter, and he has to get back to fighting Naruto and Sasuke in the same chapter, and not just on the last page either. I want, at least personally, I'm going about once, and but I want to see at least like 5 or 4, even 5 or 6 pages towards the end, them getting back to the fight between Naruto, Sasuke versus Madara. And that's what I would want to see, and I think that would probably be the best bet for keeping the pace moving and the pace going. And please don't stop with Madara and Obito doing a talk no jutsu. I will be frustrated as hell. Seriously. Oh. So those are my reactions for this week's set of chapters for Manga Madness Wednesdays. That sounds like a good name, but it also sounds like a bad name. I don't know. So what are your opinions? What do you think about the chapters this week? If you watched them, and what do you want to see happen next week? Leave in the comments below, along with any suggestions that you have for this show or for the channel or etc. If you like the video, please like. If you dislike, go ahead, give a dislike and tell me why and how I can improve. I don't mind constructive criticism. If you have any friends who you might think would enjoy this bit of ranting / reactions to this week's manga chapter, please share it along, because I would like to get this particular show built up with a nice going back and forth community type ordeal. Thank you so much for viewing. I'm pretty sure I talked your ear off with these last bits of outro crap as it is. So until next week, guys, until the next video you watch that I upload, I'll see you then. So be sure to take care.